Hello everybody, welcome back to a Sunday upload. I thought today we would have a big life chatty video about something that I think could be really useful to a lot of us, and is definitely really cathartic for me to get off my heart and give to you, and that is talking about the biggest mistakes I have ever made and hopefully learned from, and hopefully that you can learn from too. So when I sat down to write my notes for this video and think about what my biggest mistakes were, I already had a few that I just knew immediately. Like if I said to you, what is the biggest mistake you've ever made? There'll be things that immediately pop into your head. But then when I sat to think about it more and more, I was comforted to know that a lot of the mistakes that I have made are not big life mistakes. So I'm going to ask you to write, if you feel comfortable, in the comments some of your biggest ever life mistakes. But as you write it, I want you to give yourself like a bit of grace in that, because a lot of the things I was writing down I came to realise are just normal life things, like the amount of times I've said very cringy things at social events, or some of the really dire fashion choices that I've made and will no doubt continue to make. You know, that kind of thing. That doesn't count as a big life mistake. I'm talking like things that have been costly to you in various different ways. So I guess I better get started with mine. I'm going to go in gentle and then move up the levels of mistakes. So I guess if you watch to the end, it will get worse and worse, which is a really good incentive for you to carry on watching this video, eh? The first huge life mistake that I have made that has cost me a lot of money and also a lot of inner peace has been decorating and furnishing my house according to Instagram trends instead of just decorating it however I flipping like. A lot of you will know this if you follow me on my home account, but I have in the last year suddenly realised, and I don't know why it took me this long, like I'm 36 years old, I should know better, that I just don't really like jewel tone walls. I don't like dark grey. I don't like dark wooden furniture. It's just not my vibe. It might become that in the future because your taste changes as you get older. But when I bought this house 4 years ago, I had come from a little terrace that I had done up really shabby chic. It was more shabby than chic, but I just loved it. I loved it so hard. And then when I moved here, it's almost like I felt like I had to be grander than I am, because this was such a huge step up for me on the property ladder. I know that sounds like a really wanky humble brag. I don't mean it like that. I just mean it was a bigger house, and I felt like I should really meet the expectations of someone who has just bought a bigger house, and shabby chic is not cool, contemporary is cool, and everything velvet. To be fair, I still quite like velvet, but velvet chairs are cool. And I did my kitchen with that hot pink and really deep grey that was almost black, and yeah, I just never liked it. And as soon as I realised I didn't like it, I almost couldn't admit it to myself, because I was like, oh, I've just spent quite a lot of money doing this and I don't feel like I can just rip it all out now. And I would never feel comfortable. There were lots of rooms in the house that I didn't use because I was like, oh, I just don't really like it in there. And what's the point of having a lovely house if you're not fully using your house? So bit by bit, I am fixing those mistakes, and it comes at a price. It comes at an actual money price, because you have to pay to fix those things. And it also comes at, time and effort and all that sort of stuff. And I wish that I had just thought to myself, just because something's trendy on Instagram doesn't mean it has to be trendy in my soul, So I hope that you learn from that lesson too. Getting slightly more serious in terms of the mistakes I've made, one of the mistakes that I have made in my life time and time again is that I don't stand up to myself to toxic people. I don't really like to use the term toxic people, because I don't actually think that there are many people in the world that are toxic through and through. I think that you can have a toxic relationship where parts of your personality and characteristics mixed with that other person's personality and characteristics becomes toxic. So when I say toxic friends, I don't want you to think that there's ever been a friend in my life that I think, God, what a completely toxic person they are. It's just that the relationship had gone a bit toxic. Things had happened, stuff had been said, and my like response to feeling if I don't like something is never to confront it, because I'm a withdrawal person. I would rather distance myself from that person and be like, oh, I'm going to just put up my walls and my barriers so that they can't hurt me, and step quietly away. Like, my dream scenario for ending a friendship, if you have to do it, is just to like quietly move away and never have to have the horrible conversation. And that doesn't always work. Sometimes that's great, but it's not always the best way to deal with something. And there's been times in my life where I wish I had just said to that person, whoever they might be, and this has happened a few times in my life where I've not stood my ground. I wish I had just said, actually, this is what I feel happened. This is what you did that hurt me. This is how I felt something went. And it doesn't necessarily mean that what I'm saying is the gospel truth, because in a situation like that, the truth is never one person or the other. It's always somewhere in between. It might be closer to one or closer than the other, but you know, I wish I had just said my piece rather than being too afraid. And there's been an occasion even where after some time, a friend got back in touch and we were like, what went wrong? And they said all of their stuff, and again, I felt that like, oh, I just can't do it. And I just said, sorry, I'm so sorry, which is the right thing to do, to apologise. But then I never said the thing, like the response to that. And now I feel like it's too late. So I hope that I will learn from this. I'm not sure I will though. I think that I will continue being this way because I'm just not a very confrontational person. Like, if I'm having a confrontation with someone, we've gone really far. Like, we've gone past all of my lines of comfort. And I'm not saying that I want to be like you know, people are like, oi, I've got a piece of my mind, give me a piece of my mind. No, I don't think I'm ever going to be that person. But I would like to think that as I grow older and potentially wiser, that I have the capacity to stand firm in my own truth, as the youth might say, in my truth, speak my truth. If any of these mistakes are ringing true for you, please tell me in the comments, because I'm feeling very vulnerable just putting all this out onto the internet. Oh, if there's two on this list that I don't know where to put them. Okay, I'm going to do a really biggie one now because I can't just put two big ones together at the end because I might cry. So the third item on my list of the big, huge life mistakes I've made, and please bear with me whilst I explain all of this, was getting married. And that's not really something that I've talked about a lot on here. And the reason for that is because obviously a marriage is two people, and I don't want to drag someone else into something who doesn't necessarily want to be dragged into my online world. Like, you have to have a level of respect for privacy, and also I can't put words into someone else's mouth. I can't say how someone else feels. Obviously I'm coming at all of this from my own perspective, and I mean absolutely no disrespect to, let's face it, my ex-husband. For the record, I don't regret the relationship. So much of that relationship was good and warm and happy and lovely, and of course my beautiful daughter Darcy came from that relationship. But I think that we were just so young. I'm saying we, I should say I. I'm gonna say I for the whole purpose of this chunk, because like I said, I don't want to put words in anybody else's mouth. This is just my own opinion about my own experience of this. I feel like I was far too young to make a good decision about the rest of my life. I think that, as much as I hate to admit it, I think I was too immature to really understand the gravity of a marriage. I was thinking, well, I'm in love and I'm so happy, this is a lovely relationship, and of course this will last forever. And it's a mixture of naivety about like the complexities of life, and also just this like innate optimism. I'm a positive person. I always look on the bright side of everything, and that doesn't always serve me well, and I just jumped into that because I thought that was what you do. I thought, well, that's the next thing, isn't it? That's what we've got to do. And then of course, as we know, it didn't work out, and divorce is an awful, awful thing. There was a time when I thought, well, divorce is just, you know, it's a breakup but with a bit of legality to it. It's a breakup with a few documents. I can't speak for everyone, but it's not. It's really not. It's divorce. It like tore my heart and soul in two. And although I do think that it was all for the right reasons, and you know, it went as well as it could have possibly gone, I just look back on that time and think, oh, I think that was a mistake. Again, I don't regret the relationship, I don't regret Darcy and any of that sort of stuff, but I think that I was too young to make that choice. And yeah, I feel very vulnerable talking about this. It's not something I touch on a lot. In fact, I deliberately don't, and sometimes when I do interviews or things like that, I'll say beforehand I'm absolutely not going to go anywhere near that topic. I've made it sound like I was so young and I was pushed into it. I wasn't forced into anything at all. Like, I fully did that of my own free will and joy and happiness. But looking back at what happened, of course, I look back and think, oh, I wish that we hadn't have done that big white wedding. And then when things ended, I felt really ashamed. I felt really embarrassed. I know I shouldn't. I know nobody should have. Like, it was nobody's fault. But I felt really embarrassed to tell people, like, oh, thanks for coming to that, like, massive white wedding I had, but now I'm getting divorced. Yeah, if I could do my life but without all of that heartache in it, then I 1000% would. So, you know, think about things before you do them. I'm not saying don't get married, don't have that joy in your life, but really, really consider all the implications of the things that you are doing, rather than just being like, everything will be fine, it'll be okay. And also, when you're doing big adult things, you have to be a big adult in it. You have to behave like an adult in it. And I don't think I did. I mean, we're really going off on a tangent now, but there's lots of things I look back on that I don't think I'll ever discuss here, that I don't think that I handled that well. I don't think that I behaved well in that scenario. I don't think that I put my best self into that. And now that I am feeling like very stable and secure and confident, and I feel like I like the person that I am, I look back on that time and think, wow, that was not my finest hour. I don't know anybody that goes through a divorce and goes, oh yeah, that was my finest hour. So yeah, that's a big one. Okay, just gonna go and have a G&T and come back. Woo! This is only orange squash. If I drink enough of it, will it take the edge off that big word vomit? Slightly less vulnerable, but still a huge life mistake that I have made that has been incredibly costly to me. In fact, I would say the most costly life mistake I have ever made is not sorting my finances out as soon as I had to. When I graduated from university, I didn't really have any money skills at all. I had done a bit of basic budgeting because obviously I had to like live my life at uni. I had a little part-time job, but really I didn't have very many responsibilities. And then I got a job as a receptionist and I had a salary. And again, a little bit of budgeting because I shared an apartment with my then boyfriend slash fiance. But it wasn't until I started all of this and I started earning my own money, as opposed to like earning money from a company that's paying me, like this is my own company, that I realised like, oh, I really have to make some choices here and actually take some actions here, like paying taxes or, you know, making my accounts neat and tidy, and I didn't do that well. What I actually did was very similar to the thing with friends. I just thought, oh, this is a bit confusing and scary. What I'll do is I'll just look over here. Oh, here's it. I'll just look over here. And the accounts were like, hey, you should do something. I'm like, I don't know, just look over here. This is too hard. And I really, really messed up my accounts. In the end, my dad was like, wow, you have not made good records of what you've earned, what you've spent, nothing like that. I was just using my current account, like one bank account. I wasn't budgeting anything. I had like totally lost control of how to manage things. This is like in the very, very early days. And my dad put me in touch with an amazing accountant, and he really like took the time to go through everything with me, and really helped get everything like fully back on track and like really neat and ordered. But by that point, what had happened is I had missed quite a few deadlines on things, and I didn't even know that there had been deadlines. And I'm not talking about like every year you hear the obvious one, like, you know, at the end of January you need to have paid a certain amount of tax, etc. Like, there's so many things to pay that I just did not know about in business, and basically I didn't know that I had to pay them, so I didn't. And that's not really a good enough excuse, because eventually those things catch up to you and they're like, hey, are you like a bad egg? Why aren't you paying all these things? I was like, I just didn't know how to. So in the end, obviously I paid all those things, but then I had incurred a lot of fines. It was a mess. Thankfully though, lovely Gary got it all sorted for me, and I was so thankful to him. And then a little bit further down the line, Gary, unfortunately, he was really ill. He had a degenerative disease and he passed away. And that really, like, I know you don't have a really deep relationship with your accountant, but I was so grateful to that man for really helping me understand and sort things out, that made me think, hang on a second, I can't get in a mess again, because he worked so hard to help me like arrange things. I appreciate that, like, that's his job and he's really good at it and numbers were his thing, but like, he worked really hard, and it made me think, right, I can never get in a mess again. And I'm sure that like I was not a significant cog in his world, but he felt like a significant cog in mine. And now I have another accountant who is wonderful, and he fully understands like the things I find really difficult and confusing and takes the time to explain it to me. So my learning here is, it's okay to say I don't understand this, but it's not okay to say I don't understand my finances, I don't understand money, so I'm going to ignore it. What you need to do is find help, find someone that does, find an accountant, and then be very honest with your accountant and say, I just don't get it. Because for a long time I was like, yeah, and they'd be like, okay, so we need to make sure we put the ECB in the ABC, and I'd be like, yeah, but really I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, I'm just gonna ignore this. So if you are earning any money, or if you are looking to budget, or if you are looking to buy a house or make any big money choices, please, number one, take an interest and learn and do your research. And two, if you are still struggling, seek help. I'm going to leave some links to some videos or channels actually below that have really good money advice that I have since watched. I'm like, yeah, I've learned a lot from that, because not enough people talk about money, myself included. And it's very valuable. I would hate for you to make the same mistakes I have made, and I would love for you to learn from mine. My final huge life mistake, and this I would say is the biggest by a billion. Like, if I thought that, you know, divorce and marriage and all of that sort of stuff, or toxic friends, or money mismanagement was a mistake, they are literally like a pin speck compared to like a beach ball of this mistake. Sorry. And this is a mistake that I don't blame myself for. I'm not cross at myself. Some of the others I am cross at myself for. This one I'm really at peace with, and I know that it wasn't my fault not to have done this, but I still know that it was a mistake that I made. Again, wishing that this was stronger than squash. My biggest ever life mistake that I made was not speaking out and telling somebody when I was being abused. A lot of you, if you've been around here for a long time, or if you've read my book Mum Life, will know that from the age of 7 to 15 I was severely abused physically, mentally and emotionally. And I can't tell you how many years it has taken me to be able just to say that sentence and to use those words so confidently. Abusers are very clever people. I wish that I wasn't giving abusers that compliment, but they are. They're manipulative, and abuse is layered, so layered. And it sounds like it's a really easy thing just to go to a teacher or an adult you trust and say, hey, this is happening to me. But for a myriad of reasons that this is not the video to talk through, I couldn't. I felt completely paralysed with fear. I was so manipulated in so many ways to never ever support myself, that I never really told anybody. And when I did feel like I was telling them, I wasn't telling them properly. I was kind of dropping these breadcrumbs, but if nobody's looking for anything, they're not seeing breadcrumbs, they're just seeing nothing. They're just seeing crumbs, I guess. And I feel that if I had beaten that drum harder and shouted louder, maybe what happened wouldn't have happened for as long or as severe. I realise I'm getting so emotional talking about this, and it's not because I'm upset about the mistake, it's because when I talk about this, like, I'm looking at the camera and I'm looking at the window, but I'm not really seeing, I'm just seeing like things that happened, like flashbacks, I guess. So hold please. The lesson I've learnt there is something I carry with me, and I try and put into everything I do. I try and be extra vigilant for my children and also children around me, friends' children, family's children. I'm always like watching and listening. I know that sounds a bit paranoid, but I think when you've had the childhood and adolescence that I had, I can't help it. I'm really keen to support the NSPCC and Childline and any charity or any organisation who is helping vulnerable children. I'm going to actually leave some links to the NSPCC and Childline below. I'm not asking you for any money or anything like that. I'm just in case you want to read up and learn more. If you ever suspect that anybody is being abused, you can call the NSPCC and ask for advice on what to do, and they will help you. And if you are in that situation, please speak to the NSPCC, or I don't know if this is a worldwide thing or just a UK thing, but the Samaritans, you can actually email them confidentially. Tell a friend, tell a teacher. I know that this advice is bandied around so much and it's just so difficult to do, so my heart is with you. But that is definitely by far and above, leaps and bounds, the biggest mistake I've ever made. All the others just pale into significance. I just think, meh, never mind all that, never mind like the paperwork and like the finances I messed up and the money I have to spend on new furniture and, you know, the heartache of a divorce. Like, that's the worst by far. But something that I have come through and survived and thrived, and I feel like a stronger person for it. And I will not let it bring me down. It sounds like a song lyric, doesn't it? I'm sure there's a song in that somewhere. Yes, okay, so they are the biggest mistakes I have ever made in my life, and I hope that you learn from them, or that we can all take something from it and from the comments as well, because you always leave really like meaty, chunky, good comments. If you want to respond to anybody as well, please do. I love it when you all talk to each other, it's so nice. Okay, links below. Do like this video, like with a thumbs up, the click thing if you liked it, and hit that notification bell because I'll be back next Sunday at 9 AM with another video. Potentially won't cry in that one, but who knows? The night is young. Who knows what could happen? Anything. All right, I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. Love you lots. Bye.